Hi, everybody. This is Mike Barra with Real Deal special report for this weekend coming up, or a weekend coming up soon. I've been promising you guys for a couple weeks that I would do a presentation where I would talk to you about these two films, The Matrix, that one, The Matrix, and Jupiter Ascending. And the reason why I wanted to talk about these is because they're both really significant because they're telling us part of the real story, a story that most Americans and most of us, even some of us who are kind of red-pilled and engaging in information warfare right now with Q and QAnon and the Real Deal Report and trying to get to the truth. We're all trying to deal with this reality, but we're not really understanding what it is exactly that we're fighting. So what I wanted to do is talk about these two movies and tell you what the true meaning of them is. They're both, in a sense, metaphors for the financial system, because what we're talking about here is different aspects of the financial system, but they're both very, very important films. And in the end, I think you'll figure out why they're all connected and what they're trying to tell us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do a little screen sharing here and get this party started. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in and supporting us on the Real Deal Report, supporting me specifically. If you can, I really, really would appreciate it if you would go to paypal.me/Mike Barra and patronize my site. I know that my YouTube channel is kind of stuck right now, but I'm on suspension probably till September 4th. And I have to be very careful about what I post, so I'm not able to post the Real Deal Reports right now or do live streams or things like that. However, I think by the end of this week, probably by early next week's third week of August, second week of August, third week, I will be probably have a backup channel, Mike Barra 2. You can also find me on Instagram at MBARA333 or on Facebook at Mike Barra Author. So you can connect with me those ways. I do have a personal Facebook, but I'm usually up to around 5,000 friends, and it's really, really hard to really hard to get in there because I just have to catch you at the right time and make friends. So again, appreciate the patronage very, very much. So both these films, The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending, were both made by the Wachowski brothers. Now, if you don't know who they are, the Wachowski brothers are writers, producers who've worked in Hollywood for the best part of 2 decades now. And in case you didn't know, the Wachowski brothers are now the Wachowski sisters. So they've both apparently had some sort of gender reassignment surgery, and they are a couple of odd dudes, women, people. I don't know if they've actually had the surgery. I don't know what the deal is, but they now claim that they are female as opposed to male. And when they were the Wachowski brothers, they produced The Matrix, and now they're the Wachowski sisters. They're actually producing, they actually have now produced Jupiter Ascending in 2015. So let's start with the first film. The Matrix was made in 1999. It starred Keanu Reeves as Neo, a computer hacker, and also, of course, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Morpheus himself, Lawrence Fishburne, played a key role in this. So the plot is basically that there is this hacker who calls himself Neo, and he's out messing around on the internet, and he comes across some code, some programming that he doesn't understand. He's not sure what it is, and he starts going into the very deep, dark circles of the internet and asking the question, what is the Matrix? Well, one night, another hacker named Morpheus tells him that I can show you what it is, but you have to meet me in such and such a place. So anyway, Neo thinks about it, and eventually he decides he's going to go and meet with this guy. But a lot of very bizarre things happen. For one thing, he starts being pursued by these weird guys that wear sunglasses at night and dress identically, and they're called agents. He doesn't know that yet, but the metaphor for them is these are actually IRS agents, is who they're supposed to be. Now, the agents, the IRS agents, is pretty obvious. They're the ones who make sure that you keep in the matrix, that you keep in the illusion that is our monetary system. They're the enforcers to make sure nobody gets outside the established monetary system. Well, the things that Neo's doing, the poking around that he's doing, get him in some trouble, and the agents start coming after him. They're looking for him. They come to his place of work. Morpheus calls him on the phone and says, you have to do exactly what I tell you to do. There's this whole big chase scene where they run him out, and eventually he is actually caught by the agents, but he doesn't cooperate with them. In fact, he flips them off, and then there's this bizarre scene where they do these things to him where his mouth is suddenly gone. He doesn't have a mouth anymore, and they put this weird mechanical bug on his stomach, and it bores in through his belly button, and then he wakes up in his bed as if it was from a nightmare. But he goes back and he starts talking to Morpheus again, and Morpheus says, look, you know, it's time for us to meet. You want to meet? Neo says, yes, I want to know what's going on. I want to know more about what's going on. So when he meets with Morpheus, Morpheus tells him, played by Lawrence Fishburne, all I'm offering you is the truth, nothing more. In other words, I'll tell you what the Matrix is, but you may not like it. You may not really appreciate it. And he gives him this offer of take the red pill, and when you get done taking that, you'll discover what the Matrix is, or you take the blue pill and you wake up back in your bed as if nothing had happened, and you go on with your life. Neo, of course, takes the red pill, and when he does, he goes through, there's very spectacular scenes where he goes through this whole process of awakening, and when he wakes up, he finds that he is in a liquid cocoon with all these tubes and attachments on him. And as he looks around, what he sees is other human beings in these mechanical cocoons plugged into something that he doesn't understand. He doesn't have any eyebrows, his head is shaved, he almost chokes to death, but when he gets up out of there, he ends up on Morpheus's ship. Morpheus comes and rescues him because he's been kicked out of the Matrix because he's discovered something about it that he's not supposed to know. So after a period of recovery, Morpheus tells him that he's never actually been alive. He's never used his eyes, his legs, his arms, that he's been in this Matrix his entire life. He was born into it, and everything he's experienced in his life has been an illusion, a complete, absolute, total illusion. And when Neo begins to ask, what is the Matrix for? What is it all about? Morpheus tells him. He tells him that the purpose of the Matrix is that there had been a war between human beings and the intelligent machines that they created, and the planet Earth was basically left destroyed. It wasn't able to support life on the surface anymore. So what the machines did, once the clouds, there was a cloud cover created, what the machines did is once they weren't able to get solar energy anymore, they started harvesting and creating more human beings so that the human beings could provide body heat and energy. The Matrix was created to keep people passive, to keep them in this fake illusory world where they thought the things that they were experiencing were real. And for all intents and purposes, they were as real as they could possibly be, but they weren't real life. Everything that we experience, the walls, the tables, the microphones we use for our YouTube channels, the people we came across, were actually all 3D projections inside the Matrix. Now, what the Matrix clearly represents is the financial system. In other words, the entire world financial system is an illusion. And the whole point of this was to keep human beings passive and productive so that the machines could suck off our energy, basically turning every human being, all 7.5, 8 billion of us, into batteries to keep their existence going, the machine existence going. Now, this is difficult for Neo to accept, but he begins to understand that he can go back and forth between the Matrix and the real world, which is really, really pretty unpleasant and very stark. And he begins to do so. When he does, he discovers that he's a special person in the Matrix. He's a special program, but he has the ability to change reality because he now understands that everything around him is an illusion. And once he gets the correct spiritual mindset, he's able to stop bullets in midair. He's able to fight with agents. He's able to knock them back. He's able to do all kinds of different things. Along the way, he meets bizarre characters like the Merovingian, who is another program in the Matrix. And he really discovers that all these people are actually not really here. They're simply manifestations of the matrix being used by the machines to suck off energy. And that's a metaphor for our commercial energy. If you look at the 1933 Gold Act, you will see that the United States economy is based on the full faith and credit and energy of the American people. That's what the fiat currency system is, and that's what the metaphor of the Matrix is all about. Now, of course, it goes on to 2 other movies, and what happens is one of the agents becomes self-aware. One of the IRS agents discovers, hey, this whole thing is a fake. It's a fake system, and I guess what? I'm going to manipulate it. I can do the same thing Neo can do. And the whole thing is about how he battles to take over the system, as opposed to Neo, who wants to free humanity from the system and defeat the machine intelligence. So in the end, it turns out that the machines decide to make a deal with the human beings, and in return for being left to their own devices and not persecuted anymore, Neo specifically rids the Matrix of the Agent Smith, and played by Hugo Weaving, superbly, really, a star-turn performance for him, and rids the world of the agent. So that's the ideal outcome, is that humanity breaks out of the financial matrix and is able to set its own destiny, as opposed to the manipulated destiny that the matrix itself, the machine intellect, has in mind for us. The other film, also produced by the Wachowski brothers/sisters, was a 2015 film called Jupiter Ascending. Now, most people think this movie sucks. I kind of tend to agree with them. There's a lot of silly stuff. There's a lot of nonsensical science fiction tropes and a lot of silly stuff. But basically, Mila Kunis plays a girl named Jupiter who lives a completely normal, boring life on Earth, who suddenly finds herself hunted and pursued by aliens from all over the place, all over the galaxy. And she's helped and rescued by Channing Tatum, and Sean Bean plays another character. And basically, she's taken off the planet Earth onto the spaceships of these aliens or humans. They're actually humans, not aliens, but they're extraterrestrials. They're not from Earth. And discovers that there's an entire different world out there, that everything she's experienced on Earth is, again, simply an illusion designed to keep the people of Earth passive. And what they tell her is, oh, well, okay, guess what? Your genetics make you an exact reincarnation of the queen, the head of one of the powerful families in this financial system, the Abrasics. She is the spitting image, the exact genetic duplicate of the mother of this Abrasics family, who supposedly lived for thousands of years. And the reason why everybody's after her is because of her genetic makeup. She is actually the heir to the entire Abrasics empire. And what we find out is that there are these competing separate families. The Abrasics and various other families are fighting over the commercial domination of the known universe, of the galaxy, and they exist on many different planets, and they have all kinds of power over what goes on Earth. And the big battle now that's going on is that there is a war between various members of the Abrasics family over who owns Earth. Earth is one of the prized possessions of the Abrasics family, and nobody will tell her why. And she basically goes through this process where she's wined, she's dined. All the different members of the family try to make the case to her as to why she should align with them and give her royal powers to this person or that person. One guy tries to convince her that he's a good guy. The others make no secret of the fact that they want the planet Earth for themselves. And they basically put all this pressure on her to the point where she finally says, okay, I'm going to give up my life on Earth, and I'm going to accept that I am royalty in this weird, true universe. She has to go through all sorts of different, different bureaucratic steps to claim her divinity, to claim her prize as the owner of the planet Earth. And again, this is all part of the financial matrix. The families represent like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the feuding families, and again, the various children of these families fighting over the inheritance. Who is going to possess the planet Earth? What's not explained to this point is why. Why is Earth so valuable when there are lots of other planets with human beings throughout the galaxy? And that's what she's told. Well, as they go through the process, one of the brothers tries to convince her that she should marry him, which of course would give him all the power over Earth, ownership of the Earth, and make him the most powerful member of his family. And then he meets a sister named Kalik, and Kalik is an older woman in her 60s or 70s. She leads her around. She shows her the statue of their mother, who she is the exact genetic reincarnation of, the duplicate of, and tells her that, you know, she was murdered. She didn't die naturally, which would have been okay, then everything would have passed along. But the reason why everything is in stasis with their family is because she was murdered, and that is not legal. That can't be done. Then she proceeds to take Mila Kunis, Jupiter, into an area where there is this pool full of a liquid. And at the time, she appears to be, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years old. She's an older woman. And of course, Jupiter is very, very young. And then she steps into the pool. Kalik steps into the pool, takes all her clothes off, gets into the pool, and drenches herself in this liquid. And when she emerges from the pool, she has the youthful body of a woman in her 20s. And what she tells her is that this particular product is something that is a special product of the Abrasax family. And what it is used for is to give people eternal youth. Once you reach a certain age, you simply dip yourself into a bath of this wildly expensive product, and you come out looking and feeling younger. And this is the way that the Abrasax family and the richest members of this galactic human society have maintained their youth and vigor and achieved virtual immortality. They've lived for thousands and thousands of years. And she shows Mila Kunis that this is the future that she can have if she joins with them and becomes a ruling member of the Abrasax family. What she's not told is what one of the brothers tells her later, that this product that they use is the most expensive and most sought after substance in the universe. But what they haven't told her is that it is made from human beings. In other words, it has to be extracted from human beings in a process that they call harvesting. So the reason that planets even exist with human life on them is purely for the reason, purely to basically get enough human beings, billions and billions and billions of them, to then harvest them, extract these secretions from the humans, which obviously kills them, and make their product, refine it and process it into this product. It is incredibly valuable. I believe he tells her that it takes 100 humans to make one tube of this incredibly expensive product. It is the most commercially valuable substance in the universe. And of course, how many of those little canisters would it take to fill that swimming pool? It would probably take hundreds, if not over 1,000, for one of these elite members of society to go through this process and become youthful again. She, of course, doesn't really want to go along with this, and she finds out that other planets have been harvested and that Earth is on the list of planets to be harvested in the near future. It has almost reached the point where there's 8 or 10 billion inhabitants, and at that point they come in, they harvest the planet, and then they start all over again by seeding human beings on the planet, letting them breed, letting them fight their wars, manipulating them until they reach the point where there are enough humans that the planet is worth harvesting. So, of course, huge battles ensue. She gets to the point of almost marrying this one member of the family. She's rescued by Channing Tatum. She decides not to marry him. These huge battles ensue, and in the end, the bad guys who have lived for thousands of years are defeated in a battle that takes place inside the eye of Jupiter, which is really visually spectacular. So in the end of the film, it turns out that Jupiter herself ends up being the owner of the United States. She maintains her royal position. She accepts that this is who she is, that she's this genetic recreation. She saves her family, blah, blah, blah. And she decides that she is no longer going to go along with this process, that as the head of the family, she's going to keep the Earth and give the Earth people their freedom to develop as they see fit and not be a part of this sick commercial system, which is controlled by a few powerful families. Again, obvious metaphors for the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and so on. Now, this is obviously a metaphor for adrenochrome. And again, adrenochrome, using that word probably will get this video banned, but what most people don't know is that it's all out there. I mean, everybody, this is basically adrenochrome. This is what they're saying is that this abrasic substance is harvested from human beings the same way adrenochrome is harvested, and it's used to make a drug or a substance, a liquid, which keeps the elites of the world, the rich people, eternally youthful. Now, again, this stuff is out there. It's right in front of our faces. You can believe it or not believe it, but again, this is clearly what the films are about. The Matrix is about about the financial system and the fiat currency system, about how fake it is, and Jupiter Ascending is about adrenochrome and how it's also part of the financial system. So just to let you know that this is spread all over the place. This is a presentation being done by Google a few years ago where they introduced the chip that's going to go in, the main processor that goes into their Google phones. And the main chip was called Adreno. The Adreno 650 is what it was named until people figured out what that meant. Now remember, again, Google not only has phones with this Adreno processor in it, which they've now renamed Hexagon, but they also have a browser that they want you to use on their phones named Chrome. So literally Adreno Chrome. And what they're doing is every time you use their phones and every time you use Chrome, you're contributing to the financial system that allows them to extract Adreno Chrome from people, from children. That's what these movies are trying to tell you. And why would they do this? Well, we'll get into that at the very end. Again, it's very clear that adrenochrome, the symbol of Chrome browser, people say it's a 666, could very well be. If you combine the processor with Chrome, you get adrenochrome. And there's absolutely no disputing that this is the situation. This is exactly the names that they were given back before people had really ever heard of adrenochrome. Now, what's really interesting is this. The Matrix had a lot of producers, and Jupiter Ascending had a lot of producers. What you don't know is that one of the producers of Jupiter Ascending, who worked with the Wachowskis on producing this film, is the guy on the right. His name is Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin is the treasurer of the United States of America under Donald J. Trump. He has a hot young wife who I imagine is going to stay looking very youthful somehow, some way. And he's the treasurer of the United States. So if you have any doubt that there is a connection between governments and films, and that these two films are made, basically designed to wake you up to what's going on in the real world, in the financial system, if you want to argue with me on this, fine. But Steve Mnuchin is one of the producers of Jupiter Ascending, and don't tell me he doesn't know exactly what the film was really about. So ultimately, what does this add up to? In the end, what it adds up to is that the Matrix is telling you that the financial system is all an illusion, that fiat currency is not real, that we need to go to a gold-backed system. Neo, in a sense, is the gold-backed currency. He is going to wreck the fiat currency system, which is the illusion, which is the matrix. So reality is an illusion. Jupiter Ascending is saying not only is reality an illusion, but there's some dark, sick families who are exploiting humanity for their own purposes that are running the show. That's what they're meant to tell you. That's what you're meant to understand from these two films. So if you don't believe me, go back, watch the two movies again. Don't bother with The Matrix Revolutions and The Matrix Reloaded. Those go off on tangents, but watch The Matrix in the context of what I've just given you, and watch Jupiter Ascending in the context that I've just given you. If you do, I'm sure you'll come away with a completely different perspective on what they're all about and the messages that they're trying to convey. I'm Mike Bara. Thanks for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and especially patronize my paypal.me/Mike Bara. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have a great day, week, month, and year.